Happy to talk about our fall. Was a productive fall. Finished with the Wilmington scrimmage. Learned some things about our team. A lot of guys were banged up, and we didn't play quite as much as we normally have because of some shutting some pitchers down or protecting guys or guys working through injuries. But had a good chance to see a lot of our newer guys, the freshmen, the transfers, et cetera. So had a chance to see some things and have a feel for what we need to work on, improve, what areas we feel pretty good about. So all in all, it was a good fall, and anxious to get these guys in the weight room, work on some individual things that they all can improve, and then get ready for the spring.
All right, we'll start with Dave. Questions?
How's it going, Mark? Thanks for doing this.
Great.
Yeah, you mentioned some guys are banged up, but anybody long-term that could stretch into the season?
Other than the guys you probably are all already aware of, Phipps had Tommy John, Boychuk is had to retire because of the foot injuries that he's been dealing with for a good amount of his life. He's had to walk away from the game because of that. Outside of that, I don't think we'll have guys missing the season in terms of guys. Mahoney had Tommy John, which will eliminate him from pitching, but he should be able to be a position player for us this year, and he's a pretty good one. So he'll be able to help us in that regard. Past that, I think at this point, the rest of the guys should be good to go come spring.
Colin Taylor?
Mark, appreciate you doing this. Hope you're well.
Thanks.
Curious, just what did you learn about this freshman group, especially the hitters, and what you've been able to see from them over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, this freshman group of hitters has been pretty encouraging. They're talented guys. They have tools. But what we did see is that they took really good professional, mature at bats. And sometimes you get that from freshmen, sometimes you don't. You can tell a lot about guys as freshmen with the quality of their at bats, whether they get hits or not. How are they seeing the ball? Do they chase balls in the dirt? Can they lay off high fastballs? All the weapons that college pitchers have, are they able, do they have an answer for those? And this group showed a lot of good quality at bats all fall. And so that was very encouraging. You don't always get that. And with this group, we saw the tools, but we also saw the ability to take good professional at bats. And that's at the end of the day, that's what's most important.
Go Michael and Anna.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, so we're sort of following up on what Colin was asking with the offense. I know that was the offensive struggles down the stretch last year were a big topic, and I'm curious. I know there's a long way to go until we get to the spring season, but what's kind of your sense of how this lineup might look this year, and the ways maybe it might be different than last season? What's kind of your feel for just what sort of the lineup configurations can maybe look like and operate like this year?
Yeah, if I had to guess right now, we'll probably hit less homers, but score more runs. And at the end of the day, it is about scoring runs and eliminating runs from your opponent. I think we'll have a better left-right balance. I think we'll have the ability to be more athletic and potentially steal more bases and run the bases more aggressively. I think we're going to strike out less. So I think there are some, you lose a Wes Clark, a Brady Allen, guys like that, you're going to hit less homers probably overall. But I think up and down the lineup with the additions we have and with the improvement we'll have of some of our returners, I think 1 through 9, I think will be a tougher offense to pitch to. And for a lot of reasons, because we got some guys that are older, because we've added some quality players, because we'll have that left-right balance and we'll have more athleticism. So I think when you factor all that in, if I had to predict in November, I think we'll be an offense that scores more runs. I really do.
John Whittle.
Hey, Mark, obviously with Boychuk being done, it puts a lot more on to not only Colin Burgess, but Cole Messina and Thomas LaCroix. What did you see from those two freshmen in terms of growth over the course of the fall at catcher? And how comfortable do you feel with one of those two guys being a backup?
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that group. I really do. Losing Boychuk, it's tough for him because I just feel so badly for him and his family that, because this was a talented kid that had a pretty good future in baseball. And so that's a tough blow for him, and it's a tough blow for us. But I do feel really good that between Burgess and Messina and LaCroix, we're going to be just fine there. They all throw very well. The two freshmen need more polish. They need to get used to the speed of this game. But that's catching's a position defensively that if you're just willing to put the work in, you can get better. And so Burgess, we know, is an elite defender in our league, and Messina and LeCroy are going to be offensive weapons as well. And they both have all the skills and tools to be good catchers. We just need to work them hard in practice and get them their reps. And I think we'll be really good there. I mean, we all know the development of Wes Clark over the course of a couple of years, and he became a guy that we could win games with when he needed to catch. And I would say, with all due respect to Wes, these guys are further ahead of where he was at the same time. So I've got complete confidence that those guys will be able to help us win.
Colin?
Mark, I'm curious, you talked in the beginning of the fall about this being a piece of the puzzle and the evaluation tool. I'm curious, how do you balance the evaluation you saw over the last 6-7 weeks with knowing that you still had a lot of weapons that weren't out there, whether it's because of injury or being shut? How do you kind of balance the findings you have with knowing that?
Yeah, you just know it's part of this process. We learned a lot about a lot of guys this fall, but there's also some guys that you're still waiting on. Whether it's the Bosnicks, the Sanders, the Brett Thomases, the Halls, a lot of guys, sweat through very little this fall. So we had a lot of guys that, I think if you came and watched us and you didn't know who we didn't have participating, you'd say, hey, maybe there's some concerns. But when you factor in all the positives we saw this fall, and then you also add in the guys that didn't even play, I think you look at what should be a pretty good group. So you just continue to move forward with the guys that are healthy, the guys that are working towards that. You're rehabbing them and you're doing what they need to do in the weight room, et cetera. And come springtime, you put it all together. So you get some answers in the fall, but you don't get a ton of answers. There's a lot of guys over the years. I mean, Brett Carey, it's well documented after his first fall, we didn't know if he'd ever pitch for us because he just didn't have a really good fall, but he made adjustments. He got better. He had the will, and he became one of the better pitchers to pitch at South Carolina. So good and bad, you have it going both ways. So you don't get too excited when a guy has a great fall, and you don't get too down if a guy struggles, because the winter you make big adjustments and you get guys back from injuries. And so the team we have in the spring will be a lot different than what guys watched all fall. So you factor all that in, and you just take it day by day and improve guys where you can improve it.
Michael?
This might be more of a sort of a philosophical question, but kind of looking at the pitching staffs that you guys have had the last few years, guys like Bosnick and Carey, who have pitched in a lot of different roles in the bullpen and the rotation, and thinking about the big leagues where you see openers now and just all the different ways that pitching staffs are used. Just kind of curious, when you and Coach Parker are sitting down and kind of putting together this pitching staff and figuring out strategy, how much of the focus in this day and age is on guys providing length, and how much of it is on having that versatility, having guys who can pitch multiple roles?
Yeah, I think from a philosophical standpoint, you'd love to have 3 dominant starters on the weekend, know who your dominant closer and setup men are, and then figure out your Tuesday and middle relief guys. I think ideally that's what you'd love to have. But by the same token, you also have to take what you have and make the most of it. So if you have those things, great. If you don't have those things, then you have to go to plan B and figure out how are we going to win games without those things. And so no different than a football coach. One year might run the ball a lot, and the next year need to pass a lot based on his personnel. We'll look at this roster, we'll look at this pitching staff, and we'll figure out what we have. Maybe we have 3 really good guys on the weekend. I think Bosnick and Sanders obviously are a great place to start. I'll take my chances with those 2 guys against any other 2 guys in the country. But maybe we have a guy that emerges in that Sunday spot. Maybe it's Hicks, maybe it's Hall, maybe it's Seitler, maybe you just never know who it could be. It could be anybody at this point. So we didn't know Brett Carey would turn into what he turned into. So you start with a format of, we'd love to have 3 weekend guys with a great closer and fill in the rest. But if you don't have those, then obviously Major League Baseball has shown you there's other ways to win championships. I mean, the Braves started guys in the World Series that nobody's ever heard of. And it's a lot different than the old days of Smoltz and Glavine and Avery and those guys. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to win games. And so I think what you have to do is evaluate what you have and then figure out the best way to use it.
Dave?
Yes, they did, Mark.
There you go. There you go. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. With your new staff, now that you guys have had a fall together, just how is everything gelling there? Are you guys all on the same page? Do you have to have any kind of figuring out this guy's quirks or that guy's quirks? And also, who is, I guess, is mostly in charge of the hitting this year?
Yeah, Chad Collier is our hitting coach this year. Wingo helps him, and obviously I throw in my 2 cents. From 20,000 feet. That's ideally a head coach can kind of oversee everything and trust his guys to be a hitting coach, to be a pitching coach, to be the recruiting coordinator, all those things. And so I'd say this staff has transitioned together very quickly and very well. I think the players have responded very well, and I think we're in a really good spot. I think the vibe is good. I think the momentum is good. Recruiting is going well. So I'm very pleased with where the staff is as of right now. So obviously really love my staff last year and what we had, but you have transition and you want to try to make the best moves you can. And we're very happy with the moves we've made.
John?
Yeah, along those same lines, I was actually going to ask about Justin Parker and his style with his pitchers. Will we notice anything different, or what's been kind of different around there, just transitioning from one pitching coach to another?
Yeah, it's probably too early to say. Skylar had his styles. Parker will have his styles. I think at the end of the day, they're still trying to get to the same place. They want to help their guys become pro prospects. They want to help their guys be as polished as they can. So, whether it's in the language that they use in terms of how they explain things, whether it's one guy spends more time in the classroom, one guy spends more time with arm strength. I think it's too early to say what the differences are. They're both very good at what they do. And, I think time will tell where the differences are. And just a little bit too early to answer that right now, John. But, I think obviously Skylar did a nice job for us. We had one of the better staffs in the country last year. But I can also tell you, Justin Parker is one of the best in the business. And that's very easy for everybody to see that works with him.
Colin?
I know Matt Hogan and Noah Hall didn't get to scrimmage a lot this fall, but what have you seen from this first group of transfers now that the portal's kind of a different animal at this point? And how do you kind of go about addressing that maybe over the course of the next couple of weeks if you could enroll mid-year guys, or is that a possibility?
No, we're not allowed to enroll mid-year guys. That's not allowed in baseball. So in terms of the guys we've seen so far, very pleased. Belk is going to be an elite hitter for us, lifetime 300 hitter. Same with Madden. Madden's a lifetime 300 hitter at Virginia Tech, and he's going to step in and really give. Both those guys are exactly what we needed. Professional at bats, don't strike out, get on base, clutch hitters with very simple swings and repeatable swings. So those guys will be really good for us. Hall, I think we didn't see much of them this fall, but what we did see, we see a very talented, athletic, competitive kid. So I think, and Hogan, I think it's unfortunate that he didn't get to play this fall for us because of the wrist injury. But I think he'll be fine come spring. He's a great guy in the clubhouse. He's a ton of energy, great makeup, great teammate, brings speed to the table, brings another left-handed bat to the table. So he'll obviously be a very serious option in center field for us come springtime. So I think the portal was very good to us, and that as we move forward, that's whether it's football, basketball, baseball, or any other sport, it's a reality. It just is, and there's going to be players moving out that want more playing time elsewhere. There's going to be players moving in that think you're a better fit for them than what they had. So it's just going to be a reality moving forward. So just another piece of roster construction in 2021.
Dave?
Marco, we know about Texas and Clemson. Do you have your other 2 non-conference weekend opponents set?
We do. We'll be announcing those pretty soon, David. Not quite yet. There's still a little bit of the logistics and the times and those kind of things that we're still getting hammered down, but we should have that out pretty soon, I would think.